play it once, Sam. For all time's sake.
Hey, it's Janelle Waz, and welcome back to another episode of Treknalysis. Here's looking at you, Quark. Now, every once in a while, a TV show will pay homage to a classic story by basically lifting the plot and adapting it to their show. And Star Trek is no exception. Heck, DS9 did it a few times with episodes like Sons and Daughters, Indiscretion, and Profit and Loss, which is basically Casablanca.
He's looking at you, kid.
Admittedly though, I hadn't watched Casablanca, the culturally significant classic movie that's been a part of Americana and referenced and parodied for the past 8 decades since its release. Until I got the idea for this episode of Treknalysis. That's right, I used DS9 as an excuse to watch Casablanca, and good gravy, it's basically the same thing. Okay, there are some differences, mainly because the writers were concerned about legal problems. Yes, really. Plus, some things were updated to make it fit into Star Trek and not World War II era French-controlled Morocco. Play this episode, Sam, because we're revisiting a classic DS9 episode today. Season 2's Profit and Loss.
I'm not part of your life.
But you are. You always have been.
But before I go further, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I talk a lot about Star Trek, video games, and whatever else I feel like talking about. And if you'd like to help support the channel, consider becoming a member. Be great to have you aboard. Our Cardassian ship is rescued by the good folks in Ops on DS9. The ship is carrying a professor, Natima Lang, played by Mary Crosby, the Dallas actress and aunt of Trek actress Denise Crosby, and her 2 students, Raquelin and Hogue. They were apparently caught in a meteor storm and, well, Natima isn't exactly the pilot of the Millennium Falcon.
You're not actually going into an asteroid field.
They'd be crazy to follow us, wouldn't they?
Aware that this is a Bajoran station and not wanting to cause trouble, Natima and her students are eager to be on their way as soon as their ship is fixed. Laid on the lap of the already stressed out Miles O'Brien.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Meanwhile, Station's doctor, Julian Bashir, and Station's totally a tailor and not a spy, Garak, are discussing the finer points of Cardassian politics in Quarks over some drinks. Cardassians value loyalty to the state and protect it at all costs, even to the point of sacrificing their own friends and family.
Before you can be loyal to another, you must be loyal to yourself.
You wouldn't last for 5 seconds on Cardassia.
Garak's background is still largely shrouded in mystery at this point in the show. Heck, the show never really addresses what he did to deserve exile from Cardassia, outside of a vague reference to a possible betrayal. But nevertheless, you're not quite sure whose side he's on. And on top of that, he's evasive and a known liar. It's stuff like that that makes him dangerous and yet fascinating, both in story and to the audience. Meanwhile, Quark is serving up some delicious one-liners at the bar.
I heard an interesting rumor today.
Only one? I started at least 12.
Did I mention DS9 excelled in writing? Odo heard that Quark got his hands on a cloaking device, which is highly illegal. But what else is new? Which Quark denies having. Odo warns him if he tries to sell something like that, he's going to spend the next 50 years in a penal colony.
What do you think you're doing for like the next 40 or 50 years?
However, Quark spies a rather attractive Cardassian professor and rushes out of his bar, just to get a slap across his face.
It's the happiest day of my life.
So, how well does this woman know you? Just enough to dislike you or well enough to really hate you?
Quark and Natima's backstory does get dribbled out over the next couple of scenes, but I'll just summarize it here. 7 years ago, Natima worked on the station for the Cardassian Information Service during the TEROK Nor years. In other words, before the Bajorans and Starfleet moved in and named it Deep Space Nine. Quark was also on the station, presumably running his bar, and even though he presents himself as a greedy Ferengi who only cares about profit, he's got a heart of gold, which is a recurring theme throughout the show. He was selling food to the Bajorans, but was caught and nearly handed over to the Cardassian authorities for execution. But Natima admired his courage and saved his life by not turning him in. over the following month, they fell in love with each other.
I was the love of her life.
Must have been some life.
However, all this came to an end when Quark had a chance to make profit. After all,
the ninth rule of acquisition clearly states that opportunity plus instinct equals profit.
he used Natima's access codes to basically steal money from the Cardassians, and Natima broke it off with him. Now already, we can see some similarities between Quark and Rick Blaine from Casablanca. Besides both running their own bar and casino, both of which have their name on it, they both claim to be neutral while at the same time have a history of taking sides in conflicts. Quark ran a black market to help the Bajorans, and Rick supplied arms to Ethiopia in 1935 and fought in the Spanish Civil War. And both happen to have former loves of their life come back into their life by chance. Though Rick wasn't thrilled to see Ilsa, the woman who betrayed him and broke his heart, while Quark is ecstatic to reconnect with his former flame, though Natima isn't. Heck, drinks? They're on the house. For a guy who's as concerned about profit as Quark is, that means something. Of all the shops, of all the promenades, and all the quadrant, I had to walk past his. Also, nice callback to TNG. Data makes a Sumerian sunset for Troy after losing to her in chess, which is kind of humiliating when you think about it. However, the appearance of Garak interrupts this reunion, which causes Natima and her students to bolt without taking a single sip.
This place is full of vultures everywhere.
Meanwhile, O'Brien worked on Natima's ship, and the ship was caught in no meteor shower. It was straight up attacked. How many meteors are armed with Cardassian disruptors anyway? And Natima just strolls into ops. What? Anyone could just walk into ops now? Isn't that a security concern? After all, Natima just confirmed they're fugitives and the Cardassian military is after them. And we make fun of Worf for his lackluster security? The Cardassians are after Natima, Raquel, and Hogue because politics.
Being shot at by your own people goes a little beyond politics.
We take our politics very seriously.
I can't take the politics!
The three of them are part of the Cardassian dissident movement. They think the military shouldn't be running the government. Raquel and Hogue are important leaders in that movement, and the military has already tried to kill them before, so they need to get off the station. Again, Casablanca parallel with Victor Laszlo and Ilsa Lund with the resistance movement over in Europe. Sisko says they're going to get their ship fixed as soon as possible, but there's another problem. Garak. And Quark just so happens to be stopping by his shop. Now this scene is brilliant, and one of the best scenes in DS9. It may appear like Quark is buying a dress for Natima, but there's so much subtext and innuendo that I can assure you, it's definitely not about the dress.
I find this style a bit too radical, but your friend seems the sort who appreciates that kind of thing.
Quark buys a Cardassian-style dress that, I'm sorry, is this attractive? I mean, I know it's on a hanger and it might look better on a person, but the color, the cut, the texture? What is this? Presumably Natima is wearing a Cardassian-style dress and it looks great. Again, what the hell is this? Garak says that Quark's lady friend would probably like this dress, but it's far too radical for his tastes, and you'd be surprised how a bad choice in fashion could be. Sure, this dress might be popular now, but it may become tiresome with time, even objectionable. And then...
Nothing but rags.
Garak offers a bit of advice to Quark, though. There's nothing worse than following the wrong trend, and that perhaps Quark should mention that to his lady friend.
I'd hate to see her fall victim to fashion.
Only Garak could lace a conversation theoretically about a dress with threats. Andrew Robinson is brilliant. Brilliant! How is this man only in 33 episodes? Natima, on the other hand, doesn't want Quark's help. Quark proclaims his love for her, but she wants nothing to do with him on account of the whole betraying her 7 years ago thing. Quark doesn't know if stealing from the Cardassians was wrong or not, but he regrets betraying Natima's trust and that it was the worst mistake of his life. Which Natima points out that he'd probably do it again. And Odo would probably agree. Quark insists on being with her. Either she stays on the station or he follows her until she agrees to take him back. He has to be with her. He's even willing to turn the bar over to Rom, who will run it into the ground to be with her. Natima, however, thinks that he ultimately only cares for himself, but Quark says he'll be there when she needs help.
But if there's anything you need, anything at all, I'll be waiting.
It'll be a long wait.
Natima's ship is ready to go, but there's yet another problem. The Cardassians are camped outside with a huge ship powering up phasers. Oh, they're not doing anything, just sitting there, menacingly.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
And Garak just strolls into ops. Does nobody watch the door on this station?
These things happen. They did not happen on the Enterprise.
I think we should talk.
How did he get in here? Garak is there to relay a message from the Cardassians, which seems kinda odd considering he's in exile and just a plain simple tailor.
You, Mr. Garak, are no simple tailor.
Oh, really, Commander?
Cardassia's Central Command demands Hogue and Raquelin be returned home immediately since they're considered terrorists and this is purely an internal issue. But you think a Cardassian ship is going to intimidate Benjamin the Emissary Sisko? Oh, hell no.
If anyone attempts to take Hogue and Raquelin by force, I will respond in kind.
Not exactly confident in that dress he just bought from Garak, Quark goes to talk to Raquelin and Hogue directly, bearing drinks while Raquelin and Hogue bear Natima's grudge. However, they change their tune when they hear Quark might be the only one to get them off the station. But first...
I run a clean place.
Somebody saw a cockroach up on 12.
The station security chief's a shapeshifter. You can never be too careful.
I mean, they probably already think Quark's a little nuts, and then he just starts smacking tables and sticking his finger in their drink.
I take it you know what a cloaking device is? Well, I have one.
Be highly illegal.
If I had one, which I don't.
Quark? Lied to Odo?
I'm shocked.
Quark offers them the cloaking device. It'll only last 15 minutes, but it should be enough to get away. Which of course sounds expensive, but whatever they have is Quark's.
Exactly how much platinum are we talking about? No, forget I said that. I don't want your money.
But Quark's still a Ferengi, wheeling and dealing, even without latinum involved. The deal? Raquelin and Hogue get the cloaking device, and Natima stays with Quark.
I need that device.
Oh shit, this really is Casablanca!
I tried to reason with you. I tried everything. Now I want those letters.
This episode is going full Casablanca mode right now. Ilsa didn't shoot bogeys, so Natima is clearly... Oh. Well, to be fair, she did shoot JR. And this is Quark we're talking about here. Well, it turns out Natima didn't mean to fire the phaser, and it was on the first setting, so Quark's only in agonizing pain.
That was setting number 1. Anyone want to see setting number 2?
I love you, Quark. I've always loved you.
How much I still love you.
Yeah, the second half of the episode is where the Casablanca really comes out. Quark and Natima reminisce about their romance and how much they love each other.
Pretty boring, actually.
Quark offers Natima a life with him. He'll give the cloaking device to her students, they'll get away, and she'll be safe on the station with him. She's done enough for the movement, and it'll survive without her.
Will you stay?
Yes, Quark. I'll stay.
The way she says the line, you can tell she really doesn't want to leave the movement. Oh, I don't doubt that she wants to stay with Quark. Sure, I might question if someone can really be in love after knowing someone for just a month and then a 7-year gap, but I do root for these two. Sure, we've seen Quark be a scoundrel, especially with women. Heck, we even like the character in spite of it. But you do get the sense that Natima is the only woman he's ever loved. Again, he's not unlike Rick in Casablanca. He's had a whole string of lady friends, but Ilsa was the only woman he ever loved, and it destroyed him when she left. Granted, Elsa didn't steal anything aside from Rick's heart, and leaving him was the ultimate betrayal, and she did have good reason for it, but it yielded similar results. Unfortunately, an unwilling Odo arrives. But not before Quark hides the cloaking device in the piano, I mean under the table. Odo's been ordered to arrest Natima, who's to be turned over to the Cardassians. The Bajoran government made a deal with the Cardassian government to exchange all 3 of them for half a dozen Bajoran prisoners. Wait, just 6 people? I mean, if these 3 are as dangerous as the Cardassians seem to indicate with the huge-ass ship outside the station, you would think they could release at least a full dozen. Cisco's doing what he can to fight it, but this is still a Bajoran station, and he ultimately has to abide by their decision.
No matter how much I disagree with it.
Back at the Clothier, Garak is visited by Gul Turan.
They've made you a gull. I didn't realize the situation on Cardassia had gotten so desperate.
Seriously, every scene Garak is in this episode is perfection. If it's not the snark, it's the subtext, it's the hidden meanings, it's even the veiled threats. Turan is here to make Garak an offer. The Laszlos must not leave Casablanca. I mean, Natima, Hogue, and Raquelin must not leave the station. If Garak can, take care of them, he could earn a ticket back into Cardassia. And this is a recurring theme in DS9. Though Garak has made a life on the station for himself, what he wants is to go back home, and we see him do some, to put it mildly, shady stuff in an attempt to go home. Even though Garak thinks they'll just end up creating martyrs for their cause, and he has no actual interest in harming them, the prospect of going home is a tempting one for him.
I find your bitterness extremely gratifying.
Quark goes to Odo to plead for Natima's release. After all, a free Cardassia would be great for business. And Odo's not buying it.
This isn't about Cardassia, and for once it's not even about profit. This is about Professor Lang.
Quark tries multiple arguments to convince Odo to release Natima and her students. He doesn't know what it's like to be in love. Let's just conveniently ignore Kira. Quark even bargains with Odo. No more secrets. He'll tell him about every dirty business Rom's involved in.
Every dirty trick my brother Rom's involved in.
Since you put it that way, I'm not interested.
Then do it for Quark! They've known each other for forever. They've been through so much together. Sure, they officially hate each other, but they're more like frenemies. He even gets down on his knees and begs Odo. And Odo finally relents. Oh, not because Quark asked him to. He was going to let them go because justice. They haven't done anything that deserves death. He was screwing with Quark the entire time. They really are BFFs.
You remember back there when I told you I hated you? I meant every word of it.
So did I.
And on the plus side, Odo didn't do it for Quark, so he owes him nothing.
Thank you. You'll never know how much this means to me.
Let go.
Oh, and Quark fesses up that he has the letters of transit, I mean cloaking device. Natima, Raquelin, and Hogue are released, and they're almost home free.
Oh, what's the rush? I'd hate to ruin such a nice suit.
Garak's here to execute his orders so he can finally return home. He also reprimands Quark for getting involved, and he's going to have to shoot him as well in order to carry out the will of Central Command, an order he admits he disagrees with.
Before I became a tailor, I lived by a simple motto. Never let sentiment get in the way of your work.
You're not only a sentimentalist, but you've become a patriot.
But as Quark pleads for Garak to stand up for what he believes in, Turan appears and basically takes over to steal credit, and Garak doesn't get to go home.
Well, some people should never be promoted.
Could this be any more Casablanca?
Major Strasser has been shot. Round up the usual suspects.
With Raquelin and Hogue boarding the ship, Quark and Natima share a kiss. Before Natima departs, she's going with them.
But we had a deal.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Natima can't stay on the station, especially considering the Bajoran government promised all 3 of them to the Cardassians. Did you forget about that, Quark? She has to continue her work until Cardassia is a free and democratic society, and then she and Quark can be together. Quark can't go with her because she couldn't live with herself if something happened to him, so he needs to stay on DS9, which will be in the middle of a war zone in the next couple of years.
I love you, Quark.
We'll always have TEROK Nor. Garak suggests they return to the promenade, but Quark asks Garak why he shot Tehran. Garak also asks why Quark let Natima go.
I have no choice. I love her.
And I love Cardassia, which is why I had to do what I did.
Garak was going to carry out Tehran's request, proving his loyalty to the Cardassian government. What Garak actually did was prove his loyalty to Cardassia by letting Natima, Raquel, and Hogue go in the hopes that they can make a free Cardassia, unencumbered by military control. It's kind of deep when you think about it. The two of them make their way back to the promenade, not understanding love, but we see the start of a beautiful friendship.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
And that was Profit and Loss, or DS9 Does Casablanca. Both the episode and the movie touch on similar broader themes: war and political conflict, neutrality, sentimentality, long-lost loves, loyalty, betrayal, and fighting for something you believe in. But they even have similar plot points: lovers meeting after a betrayal years ago, an oppressive government trying to shut down a just cause, a reconciliation before parting once again, and the change of heart of an antagonist. While attempting something like this can come off as a rip-off of a great work, Profit and Loss pays homage to Casablanca, and like the movie that inspired it, it comes down to the great writing and acting, and I can't think of a bad scene in this episode. It does a great job of being Casablanca while fitting into the Star Trek universe, and it goes to show you that certain themes are timeless, be they in a movie from the 40s, a sci-fi show from the 90s, and beyond. Watching Casablanca heightened my appreciation for this episode, and I'm even kind of regretting not including it somewhere in my top 10 DS9 episodes list. It's a great episode that only gets better when you understand what inspired it. Should TV shows attempt homages to old movies more often? Well, not necessarily. Again, if it's mishandled, it can come off like a cheap knockoff of a great work. But DS9 really did justice to what many consider to be one of the greatest works to come out of Hollywood that permeates our culture to this day. We'll always have Paris, we'll always have TEROK Nor, and we'll always have DS9.
We'll always have Paris. We didn't have, we lost it until you came to Casablanca.
So what do you think of the DS9 episode Profit and Loss? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Heck, what do you think of Casablanca? Do you love it or do you hate it? And how does the DS9 episode compare to the original work that inspired it? And what are some of your favorite Trek episodes inspired by existing media? Please leave comments below and discuss. As always, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Treknalysis. If you like what you see, why not give my video a like and subscribe to my channel? Tell your friends. Until next time.
Or maybe I'm an outcast spy.
How could you be both?
I never said I was either.